morning, guys. Sunday morning. I loaded my video this morning, had a big ass breakfast, and then I started dicking around with mapping out my brake lines. I want to finish off all the lines on the frame. Then all I'll have to do is connect from the proportioning valve up to the master cylinder. So, of course, can't do that till I get this baby back on the frame and get my master cylinder mounted. So, yeah, so I got that. Just got a tracking notice from Amazon. My fuel pump should be here anytime, so I can get that in. And the water pump is dry, so I can install that. And we're going to get some other bits and pieces in, and fuel line, now that the fuel pump's going to be here. So yeah, there's a lot to do, a lot to go over, and so we might as well just get after it, man. Okay, so here's the proportioning valve. Now, there's 5 lines going to be coming out of this thing. You've got the big one in the back. That's going to go from here all the way to the flex line that I put in the other day. So you got that. Then you've got a line there and a line there. Those two are for the front calipers, and then these 2 lines go up to the master cylinder. So you want to keep this thing down low below the master cylinder for gravity. But anyway, so thinking of a place to put it, because I got to figure out where that's going to go before I can run my lines and then figure out what I need. So I thought about right here, and my buddy was here last night, and he said, well, you got your 2 steering lines to go in yet, 5 more lines for the proportioning valve. It's a lot of shit going on there in a little area. So he suggested the same location, but on the other side of the frame, over here. But my fuel pump's going in right here, so I'm going to have 2 fuel lines as well, one going up to the engine and the other one going to the tank. So again, busy. So to simplify things, I think I'm just going to go like around here somewhere. That way I got a nice clean run to the back. There's nothing in the way really. The only thing that would be of concern is the exhaust, but if I keep it up as high as I can on the frame, run my exhaust down, it's going to be quite a bit lower. I just don't want to boil my brake fluid. So if I have to, even I could put a little aluminum heat shield or something in there between the proportioning valve and the exhaust. So I think that's a winner, and that's what I'm going to go with. And then once I get that in, then I can get accurate measurements for what I need for brake lines to go to the back, and same thing with the front, and we'll have it all done. So all I'll have to do is hook up the 2 that'll go to my booster that's mounted on the firewall. Don't know yet where exactly. I got to get my pedal in, get the cab on the frame, pedal in, find out where the hole is going to be for the master cylinder. This is a brand new unit. It was on my 50 Ford. I put it on there, never used it or anything. But I decided I've got one with a smaller booster, smaller diameter. So I think I'm going to go with that. I'll use this brand new one for the Chevy. Now, depending on where the hole is, if the hole is up, too high, then I'll have to use the smaller one on the Chevy and use that one on my Ford. So whatever. And these plugs here are plugging the 2 holes where you hook up to your proportioning valve. So I'm going to go ahead, get that mounted, and then I can get some measurements for my brake lines. Okay, good morning. It's Monday morning. I'm about to hit the road to bring my drive shaft in, see how much it's going to be to shorten it. I have mounted my proportioning valve, but I've taken it off because I'm going to bring it in. I need fittings for that. I need fittings for my master cylinder as well. So I'm going to go pick up all that stuff, fuel line, brake lines, all the stuff I need to finish off the brakes up to the proportioning valve. So yeah, I changed up on the drive shaft. I went with the one that I knew was too long, because it's Chevy. It's already got the shaft on it, and the U-joint's fine. So they only have to cut that end, shorten it, put a new U-joint in, and that's it. So it should be a little bit cheaper than the one that almost fit. So that's the way I'm going. And when I get back, I'll let you know how I made out. So my road trip was partially successful. Got some of the stuff that I needed, but there were a few issues. So I'll just grab the camera and I'll go over them real quick. Excuse me. So got lines. I went with mostly pre-flared with the fittings done. I'm probably only going to have to cut and flare one of them. So I'm good for all of this here, the whole frame, up to that proportioning valve. Fuel line I could only get in 25-foot roll, so I had to pay the $1 for that. And I got some clamps and stuff and some other various fittings. But when I brought the master in, I'm looking at it on the bench, and both these fittings are for 3/16 line. Both reservoirs are the same size, 4-wheel drum brakes. So I went upstairs, looked real quick. I've got a couple other masters that are the right ones, and they already have fittings on them, so I'm good to go there. No problem. No big rush for that anyhow. And then as far as the drive shaft goes, they do not cut and weld old drive shafts at this particular place, and we only have one game in town here as far as I know. So for liability reasons, he said. So they're building me a brand new one. It's going to be ready in a couple days. Price is not stupid, but more than I wanted to spend. $450. So it is what it is. That'll be ready, I think he said Wednesday or Thursday. So that's the way she goes when you're hot rodding. Okay, good morning. Tuesday morning now. It's 20 below zero with the wind chill. Marvelous. I just got back from a run to the automotive supply store, which turned out to be a total bust. So I'll tell you what's going on. Yesterday afternoon, I spent the better part of the day working body work on the cab. And then last night, I started playing around with my brake lines. The longest length of pre-flared lines I could get was 60 inches, 5-footers. So it became apparent pretty quick that I was going to be short to reach my proportioning valve down here. So I went to Canadian Tire last night, picked up a short length and a coupler, but of course they don't have any couplers. So this morning, early, fired up the truck, warmed it up and everything else, because the wife needs it to go to work. She leaves at 8:30. So I head over to the supply store, like I said, asked them for a 1/4 inch standard thread coupler. I get home, wife jumps in the truck, goes to work, and I'm left here with a metric fitting. So it's no good to me. So that was a total waste of time. But anyhow, my original plan was to come down the frame rail all the way down to the transmission cross member, cut across, and then into my proportioning valve. But then I remembered the transmission cross member is coming out again. So I don't want to fasten anything to that. So I'm going to cut across at the fixed cross member and then straight down into my proportioning valve. So yeah, I'm going to carry on with plumbing. I just called a buddy of mine. He thinks he has a coupler for me, and he'll drop it off later. If not, well, I'll have to pick one up down the road, but I can get all the rest of it done anyhow. And I'll probably just go to time lapse and start plumbing. So that's where I'm at. good news and bad news. The good news is I was able to run almost all the brake lines. Not quite finished. The reason I'm not finished, I opened up the box, or one of the boxes with a flex line in it, and they're not the right ones. I only paid $22 for them, for the pair. So it's not, heartbreaking, but it does screw me over for finishing it up. It turns out that these are apparently stock Mustang 2, which is what I thought the calipers were, but apparently not. These are aftermarket calipers, part of this brake kit, and they're GM metric. So they take the banjo bolt and the crush washers and all that stuff. So anyway, I priced it out from where I got the brakes. It's pretty pricey, so I'm going to see if I can come up with something locally cheaper. If not, well, I'll order that then. So I elevated it into the air, and I'll just grab the camera and we'll do a quick walkabout and I'll show you what we got. Okay, so yeah, so I can't go from here. That's what I mean by the, or you see that, there we go. That's the special type of fitting that goes in here. Anyway, I got my line up to there. It just comes from the proportioning valve, which is right here, and then the other front one comes from underneath, and I just grabbed the Mustang 2 cross member, came around, oh, just rocked my head twice and brought it up and in again. So yeah, that's pretty much done. I just need the flex lines. And then the back, like I said, I've got a short run to do. I need a coupler, and then I'm gonna have to flare the end over here for this special fitting into that to the block, and then it's just run along and out to the back over to the rear flex line. So it's pretty clean. It's not bad at all. I'm probably going to paint the lines black anyway, just to because they will rust in time. If I give it a shot of epoxy, should be good for a very, very long time. So yeah, that's where we're at on that. I guess next is I'll get my fuel line in. Duck this time because I got my fuel pump last night, or the day before yesterday actually, and it's still a little tacky. So, but I can run the line anyway, and we'll get the fuel pump in, and maybe the water pump as well, and then sort out those damn flex lines. Urgh. Okay, well, believe it or not, I spent the whole day dicking around with this stuff. Put the front lines in, brake lines, and I didn't like it, so I changed them around. I had to do a couple of flares, and one I think I did 4 times, twice because I didn't put fittings on before I flared it like a dummy. Got the fuel line in. That can be a bitch to bend, man. It's pretty heavy. And I've got steel braided fuel line that I'm going to connect to the tank with, and so I just kind of tried to follow it fairly straight all the way. And then she comes out right there, right by my fuel pump. So same thing, steel braided line to make the connection, and fuel line's done. So I just got to find the braided fuel line. I know I have about 3 feet left. I used to use it a lot on motorcycles. So I'll dig that up in the morning, and I'm going to call it quits for the evening and have a nice cold pop. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so it's Wednesday afternoon. Been doing a few other things. A buddy of mine just dropped off this coupler for me, so I can finish off. That goes here. I can finish off my last little line up to there. I've got to flare the end, cut and flare, and use this special fitting. Fittings can be a pain in the ass. That's why I brought the proportioning valve into the supply store with me. To make sure I got all the right fittings. There's 5 lines, 4 different size fittings on that thing. So yeah, just make sure you you know, it was guaranteed I was going to forget one. So whatever. Yeah, so this morning I was doing body work on the cab, and I also got my my water pump mounted. Nothing special to mention here, except for on these bolts here, make sure you put you know, a thread sealer on there, because coolant can seep through these bolts. So you want to seal those threads up, make sure you don't have any leaks whatsoever, and good to go there. Also, I'm getting ready now to put my fuel pump in. You know, I cleaned up the surfaces real nice, and got my gaskets out and everything. Cleaned up the surfaces on the plate and on the fuel pump itself. So the only thing worth mentioning here really is the push rod. Make sure you get some assembly lube on the ends, both ends, before you put it in. So you put the push rod in, you got this gasket here and this plate that goes on, and then it's a 2-gasket deal. So you got another gasket here, and then your fuel pump goes on top of that. So yeah, just getting ready to put that together, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, make up that last line, and yeah, just keep on trucking. Pardon the pun. Okay, so there you go. Couple more things knocked off my chassis list. So the next big one on the chassis, I guess, would be, well, I don't really consider it chassis, but I guess it is, the exhaust. Run that at least to the mufflers, you know, back of the cab kind of deal. So get that in, and it looks like I might have to bite the bullet and buy a brand new torque converter, because nothing showed up. I've had an ad running for a month now, and yeah, nobody's got one. I can't believe that somebody doesn't have one laying under a bench in their garage somewhere, you know, swapped out for a higher stall converter or whatever, but no such luck. And the guy at the transmission shop apparently says they're getting hard to find, so I may have to buy a new one. Oh well, more money. Yeah, finish up a couple lines, finish putting bits on the engine. All those heads of bolts that are not painted, holding all the parts on, I'm going to go over it after, just with a little brush, and touch up all those bolts and make everything pretty. Yeah, and once I get all the pieces on the engine, I guess we're ready to test fire. So yeah, all that's coming up soon, I guess. New subscribers, another good bunch. Thank you very much, appreciate it. And you know, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Don't be afraid to leave comments down below. I enjoy the comments, good or bad, and I do respond to them. And you know, there's a regular gang of guys that comment on almost every video, and it's almost like I know these guys now, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and you know, if you don't do anything else, get out in the garage and build something, man. Later, guys.